Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir, baby. Welcome to Let's Talk. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. This is a podcast, and I am your guest, lol. I'm so gassed to finally start my podcast. Merry New Year. Happy New Year. I hope Lemonati. I hope you're good. It's still Feb, so I think we're still able to say Happy New Year. Lol. Yeah, I'm a bit nervous. I'm not gonna lie, to start this whole podcast journey. I don't know how it's gonna look like for the most part. We're gonna see as time goes by how we're gonna go about everything. But I really am excited about having conversations, starting this different, getting into a different space, because I think the podcast space is very different, and jumping into it now is going to be quite challenging. So why am I starting a podcast? That's a good question. But honestly, because I'm working at a campus radio station currently, and our previous program officer at the time, before he had left, he came, had meetings with a lot of us, and I remember he asked me a whole lot of questions about what do I want to do with radio, where do I want to be, and I kind of told him that these are like the couple stations. If they gave me a contract, I would be quite gassed about, and I named a few of them and whatnot, and he was like, okay, cool. Now I keep pushing with what you're doing here at the campus radio station, but I also want to encourage you to start a podcast, and with that podcast, do something different that you're not necessarily doing on air. And I was like, hey man, what could that be? And then he was like, yeah, you could actually kind of make a Christian/religious based podcast. I'm like, you know what, yeah, that's an idea. But I just didn't really take it seriously at the most part. It was just something I was really just wrestling with, because at the same time I didn't want to restrict myself from having to be able to speak about certain other topics that are not necessarily religiously based, English, or Christian based, right? So, because I like conversation, so why not just, yes, maybe it will be more of that, because it is something I would like to do more of, but it won't be just restricted to that. Warijaja. So that's what I was like, okay, cool, Sharpo, gave it a shot. And if you've been following me on YouTube, then you would have that I was actually contemplating it, with the Let's Talk sit-down videos I was doing, which is pretty much a podcast. I just didn't post that audio as a podcast, essentially. And I did say that, you know what, I want to start this thing, but I don't know how I'm going to go about it or whatnot. So coming into 2023, I said, listen, boy, I think this year you just need to operate. Whether it comes to social media, you with radio, you with school, whatever it is that you're doing, just go for it. Grab any opportunity that you get with both your hands and just try your best. You know what I'm saying? So, I was advised to do it. So now I'm just finally getting to it. And I do love conversation, but I think also the internet is just a very tricky place, man. Because as much as we want to be able to have conversations, I just think a lot of us as people are not ready to have certain conversations. Hate me, don't hate me, lol. I just also obviously looking at how other people receive certain conversations that I had, that certain conversations are more receptive to the world as a whole, depending on what society deems is okay to say. If you have a different opinion, then it's not very good for you, my dear. So that's what I've actually realized. So it's like, what can you say? What can't you say? So I think that's something I'm also going to wrestle with when doing this podcast, because you also don't want to be cancelled, but you also want to be able to say what you want to say, and hopefully, people can respect that. And it's not to say that, that individual knows it all, but I just wish as society we could get to a place where we could just respect different points of views, right? And if you disagree, that we can educate people with those points of views right? Whether they be right or wrong, or whether we can respectfully disagree. I really just wish that could happen. So certain conversations I might steer away from in the beginning of me starting this whole podcast what thing, until I figure out how I want to maneuver around certain conversations. But we are still going to rock. We're still going to operate with conversations I am more comfortable with in the beginning. Yeah. And then obviously I also just thought about it in the sense that, I have a voice, so why not use it? I know it's quite tricky with social media in this day and age. Like I said, there are pros and cons. Unfortunately, there are certain conversations that can be had. That's okay. There are certain conversations that can't necessarily, I don't want to say can't be had, but are very, there's a thin line to have those conversations in this day and age, because we are quite sensitive as much as we don't want to believe it. This generation that we live in now is quite sensitive. That's fact. And yeah, man. Yeah, so yeah, this, and lastly, the reason why I'm starting this is just because, like I said earlier, it's just been on my heart for a minute. And I just said, boy, just do it. I mean, you've got nothing to lose, everything to gain. But also you have everything to lose if you get cancelled. So it's a bit of a tricky one. But I just said, hey, man, 2023 is the year where we just rock. I might not have the best equipment or whatever. But with whatever it is that I have, because that's been the mandate whenever I started this, what is this? Internet content creation journey, was just use whatever you have and tell the stories you want to tell, have the conversations you want to have. And I've never had the best quality stuff, but I've always tried my best to give off the best quality stuff that I can. So now moving on into the direction of how this podcast is going to go. It is going to somewhat largely be on Christian-based content, I guess, / religious-based, not necessarily just Christian-based content. So having, I don't know yet, but a large portion of it is going to be, scriptural-based, religious-based, speaking to, maybe having conversations with people from other religions, seeing how maybe there's middle ground in certain things, if there's no middle ground in other things, and whatnot. Like I said, it's still early days. We're still going to figure it out. But that's the direction I'm thinking of going as well. But also it's going to be very conversational. So it's not going to be just religious-based or Christian-based content. But because I'm Mzolani, it is going to be more on that. And we're going to figure it out how it goes. The conversations we're going to have. Young people, old people, rabbis, preachers, all of it. We want it all here. And because I'm a fan of conversation, I'm rarely going to be alone on the podcast. That's truth. I mean, there are going to be days where I will share where I want to share some experiences, some testimonies on certain episodes. But I think that's, I wouldn't say rare, but it's not going to be as frequent as me having conversations with people, be it my mates, be it an expert or whatever. The plan is to, more often than not, have a guest so that we can speak, probe certain questions, so on and so forth. So yeah, it will touch on also a lot of general stuff, because I think also the name of the podcast is Let's Talk. So it's really about having conversation at the end of the day. So it's not necessarily just going to be about like religious-based stuff. I mean, the idea is for it to be, I guess, but also general talk about, varsity life, going about certain things, overcoming certain things. We're still going to have those general, quote-unquote, conversations, which I'm also excited to have because, there's so much that goes on in my head where I'm just like, why not talk about it? I mean, obviously that's also tricky, but yeah. I think that's more the direction that's going to go with the podcast. But over time, we'll figure it out, really. So, yeah, man. I think we're also going to learn on how to do more of it. Hopefully we'll get better sound quality, better camera quality as time goes on, better lighting, so on and so forth. Better, guests as well. We'll work on getting better, better guests and, who can actually speak on certain things and get, I don't say necessarily expert advice, but more unique advice on how they overcame certain things and how they did certain things. And yeah, so this is going to be a journey, and this episode is not really a long one, and it is pretty much a generic episode to say, hey, I'm here, I've come for the spaces, you know what I'm saying? And that's essentially what I'm saying here, and I'm really, really, really excited for this journey. So if you're excited, give me a 5-star for this episode, just for the vibes, because it is really a nerve-wracking journey starting something new. But there was a quote actually that somebody said that something about along the lines of, if you never get out your comfort zone, you never really gonna live, or you never really live. So this is your boy living, and I've been trying to for the longest time, and who knows, maybe this will be one of SA's biggest podcasts. We never know. But just to leave you with some word of advice, even with me just starting this, is, just start every idea, not every idea, but because I feel like as people we have so many ideas that we want to start, be it a business, be it a side hustle, be it wanting to get back into our religious journeys or spiritual journeys. We get to a point where we just spend a lot of time thinking and not doing. And more times than not, I'd like to think of myself as somebody who does more than speaks, or I'd like to be somebody who does more than they speak. And I really want us as people to really also get to that place where we become like that, where we do more than we speak. And that starts with you starting with those small ideas that you have, and just saying, you know what, this year I'm going to start that business. This year I'm going to start that podcast. This year I'm going to start that YouTube channel. Yes, there might be like, oh, everybody's doing this. Shut up, everybody's doing this. But I remember I was watching a podcast episode of, I forgot it now, but they were essentially speaking about how, certain spaces, yes, may be saturated and whatnot, but there's only one you. So whenever you step in a space, it's about what you're providing, what's you're not the same person as English, but essentially you're not the same person as the person sitting next to you, right? So you're not necessarily going to offer the same thing as the next person. Yes, maybe the conversations might be the same, maybe the ideas might be the same, but because of who you are and your thought process and the way you articulate yourself, it's ultimately something different at the end of the day. So just start that YouTube channel, post that vlog, post those crazy ideas, that sit down, use that phone, be it Android or an Apple. Like, just start with what you have. It doesn't have to be the best, most elaborate quality. Yes, we all want great quality things, but I just say use what you have, because you never know. And with time, with what you have, it might increase. So I've also been trying to get the people in my spaces who've started YouTube channels, or who have had YouTube channels, or who have certain ideas, and I'm just trying to get them to be like, yo, bro, like, just do it, and like I've said earlier in the podcast, and what I like to say with those mates is, like, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain at the end of the day, so why not just do it? You know what I'm saying? And it being February and all as well, I'll just like to say, like, when it comes to love, because, that's the theme of the month, I just want to, like, encourage you, because I also read a scripture in my quiet time as well. It's 1 John 3:14, which I'll read it to you, but I think just read the whole of chapter 3, because it's a pretty lovely chapter. And I think the theme for my year, just to share, is intention. So being intentional with the things that I do, with the content that I post, be it on TikTok, be it on other social media platforms, podcasting. Like, I want there to be intentional with everything that I do on a day-to-day, with the people in my life, the relationships that I have. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I really want to get to a place where I'm not just doing things for vibes. right? I want to be doing things because most times than not, there's intention behind them. There's a why, there's a reason, there's a foresight to whatever that I'm doing. And specifically now, speaking about love, I want us to, whether it's with whatever relationship, not necessarily romantic, I want to encourage us to be people who do more and get to a place where we're like, you know what, I'm gonna love an individual with more action than words. Obviously, if their love language is words of affirmation, hey lol, then obviously that's a different, not necessarily different chat. But what I'm trying to get to here is, let's be more people who do more, man. Let's be practical. We live in a world where we have a lot of people who have a lot to say, right? And who do say a lot, but we don't really have a lot of people who do as much. And I want to encourage you, if you're listening to this podcast or watching it on YouTube, I want to encourage you to be an individual who does more with the relationships you're in, with the small ideas that you want to bring forward, be it really just like school, be it with developing skill, whatever it might be in your life. Be an individual who wants to do more than an individual who wants to say more, if that makes sense. And in my quiet time, the scripture I was reading, which is 1 John 3:14, it says the following. It says 3:18, my bad. It's 1 John 3:18. It says, "Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth." Right? This whole chapter, I love it. But that scripture for me in my quiet time had really stood out for me, right? To really, because obviously when I came in the year, I was really looking for a word to start off the year and be like, yo, what's my word for the year, man? I even forgot my word for last year. How can I have forgotten it? But how can I have forgotten my word for last year? Anyways, but I think coming into this year as well, like it was just like not every year, but lately I've been wanting to have that word, just to like rock and operate something in the year. And this year I was like, what can that word be? And I really spent time just thinking, praying over it and being like, what is it going to be? And for me, it just ended up coming to a place of being intentional. So I don't know where I was going with that. Lol. But essentially, yeah, let's be intentional. I think that's really the idea for me this year. And I'm not saying it's going to be perfect or I'm going to be perfect at doing that, but there's no harm in trying at the end of the day. And I want to encourage all of us to be people who, strive and try more, to be people who are intentional with every little thing that you're doing. Ask yourself why. Because why not? Ask yourself why. What's the purpose? Where am I heading? Ask yourself those questions, because I think that's important. So I hope you learned something today. That's something light to share. Comment down below in the comment section. What's your word for the year? What's your word for the year? Or what's your goal for the year even? What's that one thing that you're like, yo, if this year I can achieve this, listen, it's going to the top. It's going to the top. And yeah, man, that's that for episode 1. Give me a rating. Let it be 5 stars. You get what I'm saying? Because obviously over time, things will get better. I really do believe that. And I really can't wait to start this journey. My name is Bokang Jiyane. See you in the next one. But let's keep the conversation going. Dango. Yes, thank you. Peace.